Your words just cost you a friendship, a single reactive sentence fired off in a moment of frustration, and now there is a silence filled with regret. We have all been there, caught in the storm of our own immediate reactions. But what if the most powerful thing you could have done in that moment was absolutely nothing? The ancient Stoics believed that true strength is not found in the clever retort, but in the disciplined quiet of the mind. Seneca once observed that a quiet mind is a greater asset than any clever remark. This video will give you the specific mental tools to pause your automatic reactions and harness the unspoken power of Stoic silence. You will learn to transform silence from a passive absence into a strategic force for inner peace and unshakable control. We will explore how a simple pause can disarm conflict and why your greatest leverage often lies in what you choose not to say. What is one situation where your silence could have been more powerful than your words? The first step to mastering silence is understanding what is truly yours to command. Our minds often race to manage everything around us: the opinions of others, the outcomes of meetings, the traffic on our commute. The ancient Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a simple but profound solution to this exhaustion. He said that some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are our own opinions, pursuits, desires, and aversions. Everything else, the body, property, reputation, and command, are not. Your reaction, your judgment, your decision to speak or stay silent, these are yours. The other person's harsh words, their unfair criticism, the frustrating email, these are not. Silence becomes your most strategic tool the moment you stop trying to control what you never could. Imagine you receive critical feedback at work. Your initial, automatic reaction might be to defend yourself, to explain, to push back against the perceived injustice. But if you apply this dichotomy, you pause. You recognize that the feedback itself is an external event, outside your direct control. Your internal judgment of that feedback and your chosen response are entirely within your control. By choosing silence first, you create a space. In that space, you can listen fully, separate useful critique from mere noise, and craft a response from a place of reason, not raw emotion. Think back over your last week. Was there a moment, perhaps in a conversation with a partner or a colleague, where you reacted strongly to something that was ultimately outside your command? How might a moment of intentional silence have changed the outcome, allowing you to focus your energy only on what was truly yours to govern? What if your first thought in a provoking situation wasn't a command, but merely a suggestion? This is the heart of the Stoic Discipline of Assent, a powerful mental maneuver that builds directly on our control over reactions. An impression, like a surge of anger or a flash of defensiveness, is not a fact you must obey. It is simply a raw piece of data arriving at your mind's door. The practice of withholding assent is the act of refusing to immediately sign off on that data, of declining to stamp it as truth. This creates a vital space, a breath of freedom between the stimulus you encounter and the response you ultimately choose. It is in this very space that your silence can reside, not as an empty void, but as a field of conscious choice. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this in his private writings. He advised not to be swept away by the force of the initial impression, but to say to every harsh appearance, "You are just an appearance and not the thing you appear to be." He was training himself to see the angry thought as a cloud passing in the sky rather than the sky itself. Consider a common moment of modern frustration when another driver cuts you off in traffic. The initial impression is a jolt of pure outrage, a visceral feeling that this person is wrong and you are right. your body tenses and an insult might already be forming in your mind. This is the critical juncture. Without the discipline of assent, you are that feeling. You become the outrage and you react from it, perhaps by yelling or making a gesture, escalating the situation with your own noise. But with this practice, you observe the angry impression. You mentally note, this is a feeling of anger arising. You see it, you acknowledge its presence, but you do not grant it your endorsement. You do not assent to the story it is telling you. In that pause, you reclaim your power. The choice to remain calm and silent in your car is no longer a struggle. It becomes the natural result of not having bought into the initial impulse. For just one day, try this simple but profound exercise. With every strong reaction you feel, whether to a comment from a coworker or a headline you read, mentally label it. Silently say to yourself, this is just an impression. Do not let it pass without this gentle internal check. You will be amazed at how this tiny act of labeling creates that space, allowing you to decide if a reaction is truly necessary or if your greatest power lies in a quiet, unshaken presence. Your mind is a fortress, a quiet citadel of reason in a world of noise. Silence acts as the raised drawbridge, a conscious choice to protect the peace within from the chaos without. The Stoics envisioned this inner sanctuary as a place we can always retreat to, a space governed not by the shouts of the outside world, but by our own calm judgment. Marcus Aurelius wrote of this often, reminding himself that people will seek out solitary retreats in the countryside or by the sea, but you need nothing so dramatic. The quiet you are looking for is already inside you, a retreat you can enter at any moment into your own soul. This is the ultimate stronghold, and voluntary silence is the discipline that keeps its walls strong. Every time you choose not to react to an insult, not to engage with gossip, not to add your own voice to the frantic chorus, you are reinforcing these walls. You are declaring that your inner peace is more valuable than winning a petty argument or having the last word. Picture yourself in a tense, argumentative meeting. Voices are raised, fingers are pointed, and the emotional temperature in the room is climbing. The automatic impulse is to join the fray, to defend your position with equal force. But what happens if, instead, you lower your internal drawbridge? You sit in silence, not a passive, checked-out silence, but an active, observant one. You listen to the arguments without being infected by the anger. You allow the emotional storm to rage around you while you remain in the calm eye of that storm. From that place of quiet clarity, your thoughts are not clouded by adrenaline. You can see the core of the issue more clearly, and when you do choose to speak, your words will carry a weight and reason that cuts through the noise. This is not about withdrawing from life. It is about engaging with it from a position of unshakable strength. So take a moment to visualize your own inner citadel. What are the external noises that most frequently assault its gates? Is it the critical voice of a colleague, the relentless pull of notifications, or the internal pressure to always have an immediate answer? Recognizing these is the first step in deciding to raise your drawbridge, to choose the protective, powerful silence that guards your sovereign mind. Before you speak, try this. Inhale, exhale, and count to 3. This is not just a breath, it is the physical anchor of Stoic silence, a deliberate and strategic pause that you insert between a triggering event and your response. It is a tiny pocket of time where you reclaim your command over what happens next. This brief pause actively disrupts the automatic cycle of stimulus and reaction, cutting the wires that connect a provocation directly to an outburst. In that quiet space, your rational mind, your inner guide, has a chance to catch up and override the initial surge of passion. A more virtuous, considered action can then emerge, or you may find that the most powerful action is to simply remain silent. Seneca offered brilliant advice on this very practice. He wrote that the best cure for anger is a delay, to command oneself to wait. For him, this was not about suppressing emotion, but about giving your better self the time it needs to step forward and take the reins. In that short delay, the first flush of anger cools, and you can see the situation with the clarity it deserves. Imagine a common disagreement with your partner. They say something that immediately feels like a personal criticism. Your body tenses, your heart rate quickens, and a sharp, defensive reply is already on the tip of your tongue. This is the critical moment. Instead of launching that verbal arrow, you enact the Stoic pause. You take that single, conscious breath. In the space of those 3 seconds, you break the chain. You create just enough distance to ask yourself a simple question. Is my reaction serving my highest values, or is it just serving my injured pride? With that clarity, your response can shift entirely. Perhaps you choose to ask a calm, clarifying question instead of firing back an accusation. The entire emotional trajectory of the conversation changes, not because the initial comment was different, but because your pause allowed a better part of you to answer. For your next potentially difficult conversation, make this your private mission. Consciously implement the Stoic pause just once. Feel the power that comes not from the speed of your retort, but from the deliberate, unshakable calm of your chosen silence. When you stop talking, you start seeing what was always there. Our own words often create a fog, a cloud of our own assumptions and judgments that obscures the world as it truly is. The Stoics prized understanding above all else, a clear and accurate perception of events and the people involved in them. Silence, then, is not a passive withdrawal. It is an active state of heightened observation, a strategic tool for gathering the raw data of reality without the filter of your own internal commentary. You become a detective of the present moment, collecting clues about character, motive, and truth that are impossible to hear when you are the one making all the noise. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a simple physical reminder of this principle. He said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This was not just a quaint proverb, it was a practical design specification for a rational life. Your ears are your primary data collectors, and your mouth is the controlled output device. Constant talking reverses this natural order, prioritizing your own output over the crucial intake of information. Consider a tense negotiation or a high-stakes team meeting. Everyone is vying for airtime, presenting their arguments, defending their positions. The room is filled with the sound of competing voices. If you enter that fray, your focus narrows to your next point, your clever rebuttal. You are trapped inside your own perspective, but if you choose strategic silence, something remarkable happens. You begin to hear the subtle hesitations in a colleague's voice that betray their uncertainty. You notice the unspoken alliance between 2 people through a quick exchanged glance. You discern the core concern hidden beneath someone's aggressive posture, a need for reassurance that they are not articulating directly. This is intelligence you could never gather while your own mouth was moving. This silent observation grants you a map of the human landscape in the room, allowing you to navigate it with a precision that talkative participants completely lack. Can you recall a specific conversation where you learned something vitally important, something that shifted your entire understanding, specifically because you were quiet and truly listening? That moment of discovery was the direct result of your chosen silence, a power that is always available if you have the discipline to use it. Not every battle is worth your energy. Some are best won by not showing up. This is the art of non-engagement, a conscious strategy that elevates silence from a simple pause into a powerful declaration of what you value. The unspoken power here lies in your deliberate decision to not react, to deprive a petty argument or a piece of gossip of the very fuel it needs to burn. When you refuse to engage, you are not running away. You are strategically withdrawing your energy from a conflict that does not serve your peace or your purpose. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly in his private meditations, reminding himself that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. He was constantly steering his focus back to his own judgments and actions, recognizing the sheer insignificance of most things people say and do. Their opinions and provocations are like leaves blowing in the wind, only gaining weight if you choose to catch them and hold on. Think about the modern arena of online comments or social media debates. Someone posts a provocative, poorly informed comment aimed directly at you or your views. The immediate, almost gravitational pull is to respond, to correct, to defend your position. But a practitioner of Stoic non-engagement simply scrolls past. They recognize that typing a long, reasoned reply is like throwing a cup of water into a hurricane, a futile expenditure of energy that changes nothing. The anonymous critic is not seeking truth, they are seeking a reaction, and by refusing to provide one, you win the only battle that matters, the one for your own attention and tranquility. The same principle applies to office gossip. When a coworker tries to pull you into a negative conversation about another colleague, your silence is not agreement. It is a powerful boundary. You can politely change the subject or simply walk away, signaling that your mental space is not a dumping ground for trivial drama. This act preserves your energy for meaningful work and authentic connections. So take a moment and list 3 common battles in your own life. Perhaps it is the urge to correct a family member during a contentious dinner, to answer that inflammatory email point by point, or to get drawn into a neighbor's constant complaints. Now ask yourself a simple question. What would change if, just for 1 week, you chose not to show up to these fights? Your silence would become an active force, creating a vacuum where noise used to be, and in that quiet space, your true power can finally grow. The Stoics sought a mind like still water. Silence is the practice that smooths the waves. This unshakable calm, this inner steadiness, is what they called equanimity. It is not a state of numbness or indifference, but a profound clarity that remains intact even when the world around you is in turmoil. Every time you give in to an unchecked reaction, you are throwing a stone into your own peaceful pond. The ripples of anger, the churning of anxiety, these are the disturbances that cloud your judgment and pull you from your center. Conscious silence is the discipline that allows those ripples to settle, training the mind to return to its natural state of calm again and again. Seneca, in his letters, described this tranquil soul as the highest good a person can achieve. He wrote that this peace is a consistent and harmonious way of living, the kind of person who is truly free, far beyond the reach of injury or insult. This freedom is cultivated in the quiet moments you choose for yourself. Think of receiving unexpected bad news, perhaps a sudden financial setback or a last-minute cancellation of an important plan. The initial impression is a shockwave, a surge of panic or frustration that demands an immediate outlet. The reactive path is to give that shockwave a voice, to complain loudly, to vent your anger at the situation, stirring the water into a frenzy. But the Stoic path, the path of equanimity, begins with a deliberate and powerful silence. You feel the wave of emotion, but you do not speak from it. You close your mouth and simply let the sensation move through you without adding your own commentary to the storm. In that silence, you are not suppressing the feeling. You are simply refusing to let it dictate your actions. You create a container for it, allowing it to exist without allowing it to take control. From that place of quiet containment, you can then assess the situation with reason. What is actually within my power to do about this? What is the next logical, constructive step? Your composure becomes your greatest asset, allowing you to navigate the difficulty with a clear head. So take a quiet moment now and rate your own inner turbulence on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being a glassy calm and 10 being a raging storm. Where does your mind typically reside? Now consider just one moment from your recent past, one small trigger where you reacted with noise. How might a simple, intentional silence have lowered that number, allowing the waters to grow still once more? What if the most damaging thing you can do to an insult is to treat it as irrelevant? This is perhaps the ultimate test of your Stoic practice, where silence transforms from a simple pause into a profound declaration of your own self-worth. An insult is nothing more than a collection of words, a sound in the air. Its power to wound you comes entirely from one place, your own internal agreement with it, your assent to its message. When you react with anger or defensiveness, you are essentially confirming that the other person's judgment matters, that their words have struck a nerve you yourself are unsure of. Stoic silence in this context is the ultimate refusal to play that game. It demonstrates with quiet, unshakable clarity that their opinion holds no jurisdiction over your inner world. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful alternative to the cycle of insult and retaliation. He wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Do not become the angry, reactive person standing before you. Instead, remain the calm, rational person you choose to be, and in doing so, you reveal their action as the true weakness. There is a famous story about Socrates that perfectly illustrates this. He was once publicly mocked and insulted by a critic. Rather than responding in kind, he listened with serene composure. When asked how he could remain so calm, he replied with a simple analogy. If a donkey kicks you, do you get down and kick it back? His silence was not weakness, it was a reflection of his unassailable self-knowledge. He knew who he was, and no amount of external noise could change that truth. Imagine you are in a meeting and a colleague makes a sarcastic, belittling remark about your contribution. All eyes turn to you, awaiting your reaction. The heat rises to your face and a cutting retort forms in your mind. This is the pivotal moment. Instead of delivering that retort, you choose Stoic silence. You meet their gaze with a calm, almost curious expression, and then you simply return to your notes or continue the conversation as if the remark were nothing more than a distant bird call. You do not assent to its importance. You have just robbed the insult of its intended effect, the social sting it was designed to deliver. The insult, now hanging in a void without your emotional energy to sustain it, withers and falls flat. The power dynamic shifts entirely, not through a clever argument, but through your majestic refusal to be provoked. Think back to the last time someone's words truly stung you. Can you recall the specific insult? Now, replay that moment in your mind, but this time, see yourself responding not with anger, but with a quiet, dignified silence. How does the entire emotional charge of that memory change when you meet the noise with an unshakable, internal peace? True strength is not in saying everything you think, but in the temperance to know exactly what to leave unspoken. This is where silence becomes more than a strategy. It transforms into a direct expression of the Stoic virtue of temperance. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance that guided a life of excellence. Temperance is the virtue of moderation, the disciplined management of our desires and impulses, and our urge to speak is one of the most powerful impulses we must learn to govern. Disciplined silence is the practical, daily exercise of this virtue in action. It is the conscious choice to moderate the output of your own voice. Seneca placed immense value on this, writing that to be silent is not the same as to be quiet. Quiet is a state of inaction, but silence is a form of restrained power. He believed that speech should be purposeful, not plentiful, and that we should measure our words because we cannot measure the damage they might do once released. Consider the common impulse to share a piece of juicy gossip. You hear a story about a coworker, and the desire to tell someone else is almost magnetic. It feels exciting, it makes you feel included, and it gives you a momentary sense of social connection. This is the internal struggle. The untempered impulse screams to be let out. But the practice of Stoic temperance invites you to pause and ask a simple question. Is this necessary? Is it kind? Is it true? By choosing silence in that moment, you are not just avoiding potential harm, you are actively building your virtuous character. You are exercising the muscle of moderation, strengthening your ability to choose what is right over what is easy. For the next 24 hours, conduct a personal temperance audit. Carry a small notebook or use your phone, and make a private mark every single time you consciously stop yourself from saying something. It could be an unkind observation, an unnecessary correction, or a piece of gossip. Do not judge the number, simply observe it. This act of noticing will reveal just how many opportunities you have each day to practice this profound virtue, turning moments of potential noise into a quiet, powerful strength. In a world obsessed with noise, the most radical action you can take is to be silent. We often mistake action for movement, for sound, for visible effort. But the Stoics saw a deeper truth. True action is first and foremost an internal event, the conscious application of your will and reason to any given situation. Choosing silence is not a retreat from the battlefield. It is a deliberate redeployment of your forces from the chaotic front lines to the quiet command center of your mind. This requires immense courage, far more than a reactive outburst. Anyone can yell back, but it takes profound strength to stand firm in your principles without making a sound. The Roman statesman Cato the Younger was a living example of this. He was known for his unwavering, silent endurance in the face of political corruption and personal attacks. He did not always need to shout his virtues, he embodied them through his disciplined presence. His silence was not passive, it was a relentless, active pressure against the decadence of his time. Think of the quiet dignity of a peaceful protester sitting in silent vigil. Their stillness is not an absence of action, it is the very essence of it. They are not doing nothing, they are making a monumental statement with their disciplined refusal to engage in the noise of conflict. Their silence speaks volumes, disrupting expectations and forcing a different kind of attention. Now, bring this into your own life. Consider a situation where you typically feel a powerful compulsion to act, perhaps by immediately confronting a family member over a recurring disagreement, or by rushing to fill an awkward pause in a negotiation. What would acting through silence look like in that context? It might mean consciously choosing to listen for a full 5 minutes without formulating a reply, or letting an unreasonable demand hang in the air without your usual frantic response. This is not inaction, this is you actively choosing the most powerful lever you have, the quiet command of your own reaction. The Stoics did not wait for chaos to find them, they invited it into the quiet of their minds first. This was the core of a powerful exercise known as the Premeditation of Evils. It is a deliberate and silent rehearsal for life's inevitable difficulties. You do not do this to dwell on the negative, but to systematically disarm the future of its power to shock you. By calmly envisioning potential setbacks in the safety of your own thoughts, you drain them of their emotional charge. When a challenge then arises in reality, it feels familiar, almost expected, and your response can be one of calm execution rather than panicked reaction. Seneca was a strong proponent of this mental training. He advised that we should periodically rehearse in our minds the possibility of poverty, exile, and even death. He was not being morbid, he was practicing a profound form of emotional inoculation. By silently sitting with these ideas, by feeling the initial fear, and then watching it subside within the safe container of his mind, he lessened their sting. He wrote that he would often assume the mindset of someone who had lost everything, only to open his eyes and feel a renewed appreciation for what he had. This practice transforms anxiety into preparedness. Imagine you have a difficult conversation looming with your manager. The thought of it might tie your stomach in knots, leading you to avoid it or, conversely, to storm in with a head full of reactive arguments. Now try the Stoic method. Find a quiet space for just 5 minutes. Close your eyes and silently visualize the entire scene unfolding in the most challenging way. See your manager dismissing your points, hear them raising their voice, feel the heat of frustration in your own body. But in your mental rehearsal, you do not react with equal force. You watch your own emotions rise and fall. You see yourself breathing through the discomfort, maintaining your composure, and responding with clear, reasoned points. You are not practicing the script, you are practicing your poise. When you then walk into the actual meeting, the terrain is familiar. The manager's negative reaction does not throw you because you have already navigated this exact scenario in the silent theater of your mind. Your calm is no longer a hope, it is a practiced result. So take on this quiet preparation. Sometime today, find 5 minutes of true silence. In that space, mentally rehearse a single challenge you are facing this week. Walk through the worst-case scenario with a detached curiosity, not to fear it, but to familiarize yourself with its contours. You will find that what you have silently prepared for loses its ability to command a reaction from you. To love your fate is to meet it not with cries of "why me," but with a quiet, accepting heart. This Stoic ideal, known as amor fati, is the ultimate destination on the path of disciplined silence. Every complaint, every internal grumble of frustration, is a form of noisy resistance against the current of reality. It is you shouting at the river for flowing, instead of quietly adjusting your course to navigate its waters. Silent acceptance is not surrender, it is a profound alignment with the way things are, a conscious choice to stop fighting the unchangeable and to begin working with it. The great teacher Epictetus offered the purest expression of this. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen, and your life will be serene." This is the mental flip that transforms your entire experience of the world. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a willing participant in a larger, unfolding story. Imagine your most important project at work is suddenly cancelled after months of dedicated effort. The typical reaction is a storm of internal and external noise. You complain to your colleagues, you mentally curse the decision makers, you dwell on the wasted time and effort. This resistance creates a secondary layer of suffering on top of the initial event itself. Now witness the Stoic response. The initial feeling of disappointment arises, of course, but it is met with a powerful, internal silence. There is no mental complaint, no verbal outburst. In that quiet space, acceptance takes root. The event is simply what has happened. From that place of calm acceptance, your energy is freed. Instead of being consumed by frustration, you can now ask the only productive question. What is the next right action? You pivot silently, turning your attention to the new priorities that this cancellation has revealed. The setback becomes a redirect, not a disaster. For the next 24 hours, choose one small inconvenience in your life. It could be a rainy day that ruins your outdoor plans, a sudden traffic jam, or a minor household appliance breaking down. Your practice is to accept it with complete internal and external silence. Do not complain about it out loud, and when the mental grumble starts, gently release it. Simply observe the event as a fact of your current reality, and then proceed. Notice how this simple act of quiet acceptance changes the entire emotional weight of the inconvenience, transforming it from a personal affront into a neutral event you can navigate with grace. Think of your words as a form of currency, and silence as the savings account that builds your wealth of character. Every sentence you speak is a withdrawal from a finite reserve of energy and attention. The Stoics understood this deeply, viewing speech not as an automatic right, but as a precious resource to be invested, not squandered. When you chatter endlessly, you deplete your reserves on trivialities, leaving little for the moments that truly demand your voice. Your words become cheap, your presence diluted, but when you choose disciplined silence as your default, you accumulate a reserve of power. Your eventual speech, when it does come, is backed by the full authority of your conserved energy, making it far more impactful and trustworthy. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus put it plainly, arguing that we should get used to being silent for the most part, speaking only when necessary and in as few words as possible. This is not about muteness, but about moving through the world with a sense of purpose and economy. Your silence becomes the solid ground from which your words can carry real weight. Imagine a crucial business meeting where a key decision is being debated. One manager speaks constantly, filling every silence with opinions, suggestions, and rebuttals. Over time, the room begins to tune him out, his voice becoming part of the background noise. Another manager sits in observant silence, listening intently. She speaks only twice, once to ask a clarifying question that exposes a flaw in the plan, and once to offer a single, concise solution. Her words, precisely because they are rare, land with immense force. The entire room leans in to listen. Her silence was not a lack of contribution. It was the strategic conservation of her verbal capital for the moment of maximum return. For the next 24 hours, conduct a personal experiment in frugality. Give yourself a word budget, aiming to use 50% fewer words than you normally would. This is not a rule of absolute silence, but a practice in conscious conservation. Before you speak, pause and ask if this expenditure is necessary, true, and kind. You will quickly discover how much of your daily speech is spent on autopilot, and how much power you reclaim when you choose to invest your words, not just spend them. Anger demands an outlet, usually through your voice. Silence is the valve that shuts it down. This intense passion has a physical grip, tightening your chest and flooding your mind with a single, urgent command to retaliate. In that heated moment, your judgment is completely clouded, and any words you speak are not your own. They are the property of the anger itself. They are weapons you will later regret having fired. The Stoics saw anger as a temporary madness, a fire that consumes the very person who holds it. Seneca dedicated an entire work to this subject, his powerful text on anger, where he dissects its futility. He wrote that the best cure for anger is a delay, to give yourself that first moment to do nothing, to command yourself to wait. This deliberate pause is not a passive act, it is an aggressive intervention by your rational mind against a hostile takeover. Picture a scenario where you feel a deep sense of injustice. Perhaps a family member blames you for a problem you did not create. The accusation is unfair, and the immediate surge of anger is a white-hot demand for vindication. Your voice wants to rise, to list all the reasons they are wrong, to make them feel the same sting you are feeling. This is the critical juncture. The Stoic protocol begins with a single, non-negotiable action. You seal your lips. You do not offer a defense, you do not counter-accuse, you do not utter a single word. You simply allow the wave of anger to crash against the solid wall of your silence. You feel the physical sensations, the heat, the tension, but you refuse to give them a voice. In that 5-minute window, something profound happens. The chemical fire of the anger, deprived of the oxygen of your reaction, begins to subside. The clarity of your reason slowly returns, and you can see the situation for what it is, a misunderstanding, not a war. From that place of quiet composure, your eventual response can be measured, clear, and aimed at resolution rather than victory. Create a personal anger protocol for yourself starting today. Decide that your very first step before any other action is to impose 5 minutes of complete and total silence upon yourself. This is your non-negotiable rule. In that quiet space, you are not deciding the issue, you are simply reclaiming your mind. You are allowing the storm to pass so you can see the landscape clearly once more. What single, recurring situation in your life would be transformed if you met its first spark with this disciplined, powerful quiet? Have you ever noticed how the quietest person in the room is often perceived as the most powerful? In a world of constant chatter and compulsive oversharing, the person who can comfortably inhabit silence stands out. They are not vying for attention or scrambling to fill the air with their own noise. This projects an aura of self-containment and deep confidence, an unspoken message that their worth is not dependent on external validation. The Stoics understood this social calculus perfectly. They believed that the sage, the ideal wise person, was known by his few wants and even fewer words. This is not about being shy or withdrawn. It is about the strategic use of silence to command respect and influence the social field around you. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. People lean in to listen, anticipating that what you do say has been carefully considered and is therefore more valuable. Think about a job interview or a first date. The natural impulse is to sell yourself, to fill every pause with your accomplishments or your charming stories. But what if you flipped that script? What if you focused on listening intently, asking thoughtful questions, and answering with concise, meaningful statements followed by comfortable silence? This does not make you seem disinterested. On the contrary, it creates an air of mystery and depth. It suggests you are a person who thinks before they speak, a trait that inspires trust and respect. The other person is left with the distinct impression that there is more to you than meets the eye, that your value runs deep beneath a calm surface. This week, make it a point to observe the most respected person you know, whether in your workplace, your family, or your social circle. Pay close attention to their conversational habits. How much do they speak versus how much do they truly listen? You will likely find that their power does not come from the volume of their voice, but from the quiet confidence they exude when they choose to say nothing at all. Remembering that you will die is the ultimate reason not to waste your breath on trivialities. This Stoic practice, known as Memento Mori, is not a morbid fixation, but a profound tool for clarity. It forces a radical re-evaluation of what truly deserves your energy and your voice. When you consciously hold the finite nature of your own life in mind, the daily provocations that once triggered you begin to look like what they are, insignificant specks against the vast backdrop of your existence. That frustrating email, the rude comment from a stranger, the perceived slight in a meeting, all of it shrinks down to a manageable size. From this elevated perspective, choosing silence is not an act of suppression. It is an act of wisdom, a conscious decision to reserve your precious life force for what genuinely matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come. Existence flows past us like a river, the infinite yesterdays are gone and everything is slipping away." In this context, he asks, why would you be troubled by the gossip or the opinion of another person when soon both of you will be forgotten? All this tumult you are experiencing, all this noise, it will be gone, and so will you. This meditation is not meant to depress you, but to liberate you. It pulls you out of the tiny, heated drama of the moment and places you on a mountain peak, looking down at the whole of your life. From there, the choice becomes clear. Imagine you are at a social gathering and someone makes a snide remark about your appearance. The old, reactive you might feel a hot flush of embarrassment, immediately crafting a witty but cutting retort to save face. But the you who has practiced Memento Mori simply observes the comment. You see it as a ripple on the surface of a deep ocean. You recognize that in 100 years, no one will remember this moment, this person, or their careless words. To invest your energy, your breath, your emotional state into a reaction is quite literally to waste a piece of your limited life on nothing. Your silent, calm smile in response is not weakness. It is a testament to your understanding of a much larger truth. Before you begin your day tomorrow, try this grounding exercise. Find 2 minutes of quiet, perhaps before you even get out of bed. In that silence, do not plan your day or check your phone. Instead, simply contemplate the fact that your life is finite. Do not fear this thought, but hold it gently. Acknowledge that this day is a gift and your breath is a limited resource. Then carry that quiet perspective with you, and notice how the small annoyances that once demanded a reaction now seem to ask for your silence instead. Before the world demands your attention, claim the first moments for yourself in silence. This practice is not about adding another task to your morning, but about creating a buffer zone between your peaceful mind and the coming noise. It is a daily ritual of fortification, a quiet space where you can set your intentions and review your Stoic principles before the day's demands begin their assault. Think of it as a mental inoculation, a small dose of quiet that builds your resilience against the chaos to come. Marcus Aurelius himself understood this need. His personal writings, which we now call meditations, were not composed for an audience. They were his own form of morning silence and reflection, a private dialogue where he reminded himself of the virtues he wished to embody and the nature of the world he was about to face. He was preparing his inner citadel before stepping out to rule an empire. A simple 10-minute routine can transform your entire day. Find a quiet chair, perhaps with a cup of tea, and just sit. Let the first few minutes be pure, undemanding silence. Do not reach for your phone or plan your schedule. Simply breathe and allow your mind to settle. Then gently bring to mind the Stoic dichotomy of control. Mentally sort the anticipated events of your day into 2 categories: what is within your power and what is not. Your effort on a project is yours to command. The final approval is not. Your intention to be patient in a meeting is yours. The mood of your colleagues is not. This mental sorting grounds you in reality before the day even begins. Finally, visualize your day unfolding with calm resolve. See yourself meeting potential challenges not with reactive emotion, but with the quiet strength you are cultivating now. The true test of this practice is in the living. Your challenge is to try a Stoic morning silence for just 3 consecutive days. Do not expect a miracle, but pay close attention to the subtle shifts. Do you find yourself pausing more easily when a frustration arises? Does the critical email feel a little less personal? Notice how this small island of quiet in the morning can change the entire weather of your day. Your phone is a modern-day Stoic gym. Every notification is a test of your ability not to react. The digital world is engineered to hijack your attention and provoke an immediate emotional response. Social media platforms thrive on outrage. Emails can feel like personal assaults, and text messages demand instant replies. This constant barrage is the new frontier for practicing Stoic silence. It is the unending noise that Epictetus warned against, now packaged in the chimes and buzzes of your devices. He advised to let not the noise of the world break your soul's quiet, a principle that translates perfectly to muting the pings that seek to disturb your inner peace. The most powerful application of your practice now happens not in the forum, but in your feed. Consider the last time you saw a provocative post that directly challenged your views. Your fingers probably itched to type a fiery reply, to correct the misinformation, to win the argument. This is the digital test. The reactive path is to engage, to add your own noise to the chaos. The Stoic path is to practice digital silence. You observe the post, you feel the impulse to respond, and then you consciously choose to close the app. You do not reply in anger, you do not post impulsively. By withholding your reaction, you are not conceding the point. You are declaring that your tranquility is more valuable than winning an online skirmish. The same principle applies to a rude or demanding email. The immediate surge of frustration urges you to fire back a defensive or equally sharp response. Instead, impose a 24-hour rule. Write the email if you must to vent the emotion, but do not put the recipient's address in the to field. Save it as a draft. Return to it the next day with the calm clarity of a rested mind. You will almost always find that the email you nearly sent is an emotional reaction you are grateful you contained. Your power is demonstrated not by the speed of your reply, but by the disciplined silence that precedes it. For the next week, try a digital silence detox for 1 single hour each evening. For 60 minutes, you will not respond to any non-urgent messages, emails, or social media notifications. You are not ignoring your responsibilities. You are actively building your resilience. In that quiet hour, feel the initial anxiety of disconnection slowly transform into a profound sense of control. Notice how the world continues without your immediate input, and how your own mind begins to settle into a deeper, more peaceful rhythm. Stoic silence is a tool for wisdom, not an excuse for cowardice. The sage knows when to speak. This is the vital balance at the heart of Stoic practice. Your disciplined quiet is meant to serve the ultimate goal of living a virtuous life, and that life sometimes demands your voice. The virtues of courage and justice can compel you to break your silence, to stand and speak truth when it is necessary. The key difference lies in the source of your words. Are they flowing from a place of calm reason and a commitment to what is right, or are they bursting forth from a reactive, emotional impulse? Epictetus offered a beautiful and profound metaphor for this. He said that the philosopher's school is a hospital for the soul. You should not leave with a pleased feeling, but with a painful one, for you are not in good condition when you arrive. Sometimes the treatment your soul requires, or the treatment you must help administer to the world, involves the careful, deliberate act of speaking up. It is the verbal surgery that removes a falsehood or sets a broken situation right. Picture the stark difference between two moments. In the first, a stranger hurls a casual insult your way on the street. Your Stoic training guides you to see this as an external event, a leaf blowing in the wind, and your most powerful response is a dignified, unshaken silence. Now witness the second scenario. You are in a meeting and see a colleague being unfairly blamed for a mistake they did not make. To remain silent here is not a virtue. It is a failure of courage and a betrayal of justice. The Stoic path in this moment is to pause, to ensure your own mind is clear of anger, and then to speak. Your words would be measured, factual, and aimed solely at correcting the injustice, not at attacking the person who made the error. You speak because it is the right thing to do, not because you are personally offended. So now, you must define your own boundary. Look inward and identify one situation, one line that must never be crossed where you vow to never stay silent out of fear or apathy. Is it when you witness the bullying of someone who cannot defend themselves? Is it when a fundamental truth is being twisted for a malicious purpose? Decide now, in the quiet of your mind, where your principled voice must always be stronger than your fear. How can you hear the whispers of your own soul if your mind is constantly shouting? We fill our days with noise, with podcasts, with music, with the endless chatter of our own reactive thoughts, and in doing so, we drown out the one voice that truly needs to be heard, our own. Stoic silence is not just a tool for managing external conflict. It is the essential environment for the most important conversation you will ever have, the one with yourself. The ancient command to know thyself is impossible to follow without first creating periods of deliberate, internal quiet. It is in this stillness that you can step back and observe the machinery of your own mind, watching your habitual patterns, your unexamined biases, and your automatic desires as they arise without immediately getting swept away by them. Seneca captured the necessity of this daily practice perfectly. He wrote that you should scrutinize your entire day, going back over what you have done and said, hiding nothing from yourself and skipping nothing. This is not an exercise in self-criticism, but in self-observation, a quiet audit of your own character. Imagine trying to look at your reflection in a pond during a storm. The image would be shattered and distorted. Only when the wind dies down and the water grows still can you see yourself clearly. Your mind is that pond, and silence is what stills the waters. To put this into practice, consider instituting a weekly silent walk. This is not just a walk without talking. It is a walk without any external input at all. No headphones, no podcasts, no music. For 30 minutes, your only task is to walk and to observe your own thoughts as they come and go. You will notice a recurring theme, a persistent worry, or a forgotten aspiration that has been buried under the daily noise. This is not about solving anything in the moment, but about simply listening, about reacquainting yourself with the landscape of your own inner world. Following this, try a session of silent journaling. Set a timer for 15 minutes and write without stopping, without censoring, and without any intended audience. Let your hand move across the page and see what emerges from the quiet. You are not writing to produce a masterpiece. You are writing to excavate your own truth. What long-forgotten dream or unresolved frustration might finally find its voice when you grant it a space free from judgment and interruption? A tree does not shout when the wind blows. It bends in silent resilience. This is not a sign of weakness, but a profound lesson in strength from the natural world. Nature operates with a quiet, efficient order that the Stoics urged us to emulate. They called this living in accordance with nature, which meant aligning our own inner reason with the rational, harmonious principles that govern the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius constantly looked to the natural world for guidance, reminding himself to observe how all things are brought forth by nature and to see the grace and charm that exists within their silent, purposeful movements. A storm does not rage within the oak tree, it simply adjusts its branches and holds its ground. A river does not complain about the rocks in its path, it flows around them with persistent, quiet force. This is the same steadfastness we are called to cultivate within ourselves. Our modern lives are filled with metaphorical winds and storms, the sudden setbacks, the harsh words, the unexpected delays. Our instinct is to shout back, to resist noisily, to fight the current, but nature shows us a different way, the way of quiet endurance. This week, find a simple way to put this into practice. Go to a park, sit in your backyard, or even just observe a single houseplant from your window, but do so with a commitment to complete silence for 10 minutes. Watch how a bird does not scream at the approaching cat, it simply flies to a higher branch. Notice how a flower does not wilt in protest against the scorching sun, it waits for the evening cool. In this silent observation, you are not just looking at nature, you are learning from it. You are absorbing the blueprint for a different kind of response to challenge, one that is rooted not in frantic reaction, but in a deep, unshakable presence. After your 10 minutes of quiet observation, ask yourself this single question. What did nature teach me today about meeting difficulty without a sound? What will your life say about you when you are no longer here to explain it? Your legacy is not etched in the clever arguments you won or the loud proclamations you made, but in the quiet, consistent strength of your character, built day by day through the choices you make in silence. The Stoics believed that a good life is a quiet one, not in terms of inaction, but in its freedom from the noisy turmoil of passion and reactivity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the memory of everything is very soon buried in silence, reminding us of the fleeting nature of all sound and fury. Your lasting impact, therefore, will be measured by the depth of your integrity and the peace you cultivated, virtues that speak through your actions long after your voice has faded. Consider the historical figures we remember with the deepest respect. They are often not the loudest or most controversial characters of their age, whose dramas and scandals eventually fizzle out. We remember those like Abraham Lincoln, who led with a profound and often sorrowful quiet, or the quiet determination of Rosa Parks, whose silent refusal to move was louder than any shouted speech. Their power was not in their volume, but in the unshakable principles their silence represented. They built legacies not on words, but on the bedrock of silent conviction. Now take a moment to look inward and write a short paragraph just for yourself. Describe the legacy you wish to leave behind. Do not list accomplishments or possessions. Focus instead on the qualities you want to be remembered for, the peace you brought to a room, the wisdom you offered in a crisis, the strength others felt simply by being in your calm presence. This is the legacy built by Stoic silence, a testament written not in words, but in the quiet power of a life well lived. For many, the silence is terrifying, an empty space that demands to be filled. We reach for our phones, turn on the television, or simply let our internal monologue run wild, all to avoid the quiet. We fear that in the absence of external noise, we will be left alone with a stranger, our own unexamined self. But the Stoic sees this same silence not as a void but as fertile ground. It is the blank page where your character is written, the quiet workshop where your virtues are forged. This discomfort you feel is not a sign to escape, but an invitation to build. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about this very need, advising him to learn to be content with yourself. Be in your own company, he urged, for if you do not run from yourself, who can you be comfortable with? This is the core of the practice, to transform solitude from a punishment you dread into a reward you seek. The goal is to become a person whose own company is so rich and peaceful that external validation becomes irrelevant. Start with a small, manageable dose of this medicine. Tomorrow, find a quiet chair and set a timer for just 1 minute. Your only task is to sit, breathe, and do nothing. Do not meditate in any formal way. Do not try to control your thoughts. Simply be present with the silence. You will likely feel an itch, a mental agitation, an impulse to get up and do something. Observe that feeling without giving in. This is the initial resistance, the fear of the quiet. The next day, try for 2 minutes. Gradually increase this time, building your tolerance for stillness just as you would build a muscle. After you have practiced for a few days, challenge yourself to a full 5 minutes of uninterrupted quiet. Following this session, take a notebook and write down the specific fears or discomforts that surfaced. Did you feel bored, anxious, unproductive? Now, apply a Stoic lens to each one. The feeling of boredom is an attachment to constant stimulation, a thing outside your control. The anxiety is often a fear of future events, most of which will never come to pass. The sense of unproductivity is a misunderstanding of what true work is, the internal labor of building a resilient mind. By naming these fears and meeting them with reason, you drain them of their power, and you begin the sacred work of befriending the one person whose company you will never escape: yourself. You don't need a mountain retreat to find silence. You can cultivate it in the cracks of your day. This is the practice of Stoic microsilences, brief and intentional pauses deliberately inserted into the mundane rhythm of your life. These are not grand meditations, but fleeting moments of quiet where you step out of the current of automatic reaction and simply reconnect with your own reason. The philosophy of Stoicism is not built in dramatic, singular acts, but in these small, consistent actions, repeated daily until they become the bedrock of your character. Epictetus reminded his students that no great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig is. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Your inner calm is that fruit, ripened one silent moment at a time. Think of your day as a series of anchor moments, natural transitions where you can institute this practice. Before you start your car, instead of immediately reaching for the radio, allow your hands to rest on the wheel for 30 seconds of pure quiet. Use this pause to set your intention for the drive, to arrive calmly and safely. While waiting in line at the coffee shop, resist the pull to check your phone. Instead, stand in the silence, observe your surroundings without judgment, and feel your breath. After you finish a major task and before you dive into the next one, close your eyes for just half a minute. Let the mental chatter from the completed work settle before you charge ahead. Another powerful anchor is the moment after you close your email inbox, before you allow the content of those messages to dictate your mood and your next actions. Gift yourself a 30-second buffer of silence. This creates a space between the demands of the outside world and your chosen response. You can even institute this before a meal, taking a silent moment of gratitude and presence before you begin to eat, transforming a routine act into a small ritual of mindfulness. Your challenge is straightforward yet profound. Look at your own routine and identify just one of these anchor moments for tomorrow. It could be before your first sip of morning coffee or after you hang up from a difficult phone call. Commit to inhabiting that single moment with conscious silence. Do not try to change the entire day at once. Master one small crack in your schedule, and you will discover that the quiet you seek has been waiting there for you all along. This quiet strength you have been building is not a single tool, but an entire arsenal for living. Stoic silence is the discipline of your mind, the strategic choice in social currents, and the very path to a virtuous character. It begins with the fundamental clarity of the dichotomy of control, focusing your energy only on what is truly yours to command. It is activated by the power of the pause, that deliberate breath that breaks the chain of automatic reaction. It matures into the art of non-engagement, the wise decision to not show up for every petty battle, and it culminates in an unshakable inner peace, a still pond that reflects reality without distortion. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire from this quiet center, left us a perfect summation. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is the quiet self-possession that no external noise can ever take from you. Your journey with these ideas does not end when this video does. It begins in your very next conversation, your next moment of frustration, your next encounter with the world's noise. So here is a final question to carry with you. What is the one area of your life, the one recurring trigger, where you will make a conscious commitment to practice Stoic silence starting today? We would be honored to hear about your experiences. Share your story in the comments below, and if you found this guidance valuable, subscribe for more practical wisdom to help you live a calmer, more focused life.